For those who don't know me, my name is Paul Ginley. I'm Torbay Financial Services. I joined in 1988, HSBC, just across the road there. It was Midland Bank then, good old days. 2004, I joined the commercial centre along with Graham Brooks there. Seems like a long time ago. A couple of years ago, I decided to get out of HSBC. I felt the way they were going down the route of financial planning and financial advice, but it wasn't the way I wanted to do it. So I jumped out and I've set up Torbay Financial Services. So this chap here is Darren from Scottish Widows. I think one of the biggest impacts on businesses going forward is going to be workplace pensions. You've probably seen the adverts with Theo Vatitas and that coming on now. So I thought, rather than me talk about it, I'll bring an expert along to chat about it. Couldn't find any experts, so Darren stepped in. And Darren, have a quick chat to you about what's going to happen really over the next couple of years. Really.
Lovely. Thank you, Paul. What I'm going to do, I'm going to give just a very quick overview of where we are with workplace pensions and how we've come about that, and then really in the 10 minutes just to give you 5 things if you're an employer to be thinking about in terms of the impact of workplace pensions on yourselves. If you're not an employer, there'll also be some relevance in there if you're an employee or going to be making contributions yourself. So if we think about where we are with workplace pensions, the government a long time ago realised that the basic state pension wasn't going to be enough for employees to retire on. So back in the 60s they introduced something called the graduated state pension, which was to top up the basic state pension. But that became overly cumbersome, overly expensive. They decided it didn't work, so they replaced it with SERPs, which many of us would probably heard of in this room. Again, that was to top up the basic state pension. It became cumbersome, it became unaffordable and overly expensive, so they replaced that with state second pension. And guess what's happened with state second pension? It's become cumbersome, overly expensive, you get the picture. So what they've done, they've decided that we're going to have a basic state pension. You've probably seen in the press that from 2016 that's going to be £144 in today's money. But they were saying, we know that's not enough for most people to live on, so how do we top that up? Who can get this right for us? Because we're not able to do it. Said, I know, we'll go to employers and we'll get employers to look after it and do it right. So that's how we've got there. What are the 5 things that you need to be thinking about? Well, the first thing, if you're an employer, if you've got just one employee, you will have to have a qualifying scheme in place. So the first thing you need to know is when do you have to have that in place? Now, every company will have what's called a staging date, and that is the date when you have to have your workplace pension in place, and you have to automatically enrol employees, which we'll touch on in a moment. How do you find out your staging date? Well, you can get your PAYE reference, and you can either speak to your advisor and get advice, or you can go on the regulator's website, key in your PAYE reference, and that will tell you what your staging date is. Now, the largest companies, you like Tesco's, they actually started in October, but every company between now and 2017 will have a staging date. So number 1, if you don't know when your staging date is and you're an employer, find out. The second thing is you need to understand who is going to have to be automatically enrolled into a workplace pension. And you're going to hear categories that your staff will be placed into. So you'll hear people called entitled workers, eligible job holders, non-eligible job holders. These may be phrases unfamiliar to you at the moment, but they will become familiar to you. Why will they be familiar? Well, if you take an eligible job holder, an eligible job holder is anybody earning over £9,440 a year who is between 22 and state pension age. Now, when you get to your staging date, or for new joiners, once you've gone past your staging date, all of those people who fall into that eligible job holder category have got to be automatically enrolled into a workplace pension scheme with you. They can choose to opt out. If they choose to opt out, you've then got to write to them each year and offer them the opportunity to opt back in. And if they choose not to do that, after 3 years, you've got to automatically enrol them back in. So as you can see, it's not a straightforward process. If you've got people who are earning over 9440 but they're under 22 or over state pension age, or they're earning less than 9440 but above 5568, they're called non-eligible job holders. These people you've got to write to and offer them the opportunity to join, and if they do want to join, then you've got to make contributions the same as the people that you've automatically enrolled. The only difference is you don't have to automatically enrol them. It's their decision whether they join or not. But if they choose to join, you've got to make the same contributions. And then you'll have another category called entitled workers, which will be people earning less than 5568. Those people, you've got to write to them and offer them the opportunity to join a pension, but as an employee you haven't got to contribute. So as you can see, it's really important that you understand how your workforce is made up, because there are different cost implications for each segment. There are also different communication issues with each segment. You're going to have to send different letters at different frequencies for each one. So understand how your workforce is made up. The third is cost. Start planning now, start thinking about the cost. There's the obvious cost, which is going to be the cost of the premiums that you're going to have to make. Now, there are 4 tests that you can, or 4 premium tests that you can look at to pass your scheme to make it a qualifying scheme. I won't go through those today, but the most common one you will hear is that as an employer, when you've got to 2018, you will be having to pay 3% of your employee's basic pay as a contribution. The employee will be paying 4%, the government will be paying 1%, making 8%. Now, it's actually staged up to that, so you do have a run-in where you work up to that amount, but you need to build the cost of those contributions in now. You also need to think about the additional costs, the costs of the administration, of making sure payroll is correct, of running the assessments on your workforce, of actually issuing the correct letters. Do you do those costs in-house? Do you outsource those costs? Do you have the time to build that expertise? The reason you need to start finding out when your staging date is and planning now is if you haven't built these costs into your business plan, they're obviously going to severely impact on your profit margin. So that's why we're saying do that now. The fourth area is administration. From what I've already said, you're probably thinking this sounds like quite an administrative burden, and it is. The issue isn't actually so much the premiums. For many people, they accept they've got the premiums to pay, but the issue for employers is how do I manage the data? How do I deliver the right letters at the right time to the right people? How, if I've got somebody on 8,500 but suddenly they go on over 9,440, they move from being a non-eligible job holder to an eligible job holder, how do I pick that up? How do I make sure I've got the right communication in process for them? These are the challenges, and you need to understand how you're going to deal with those and what support's around. And that really leads on to option 5, number 5, which is really understanding your options. By starting planning now, and I would recommend that you start planning at least 12 months before your staging date, you can start looking at the options that are available to you. So you may, as an employer, want to do a basic scheme, and in that case you may want to run the letters and diary systems and things yourself. Your payroll system may provide some support, so you need to understand what support that provides. You may want a fuller scheme where that offers not only more investment choice, but it may also offer the facility to provide the communication, the letters, etc. that you've got to provide, and also assess the workforce for you. So by starting early, you can look at all those options. You can also think about, am I going to do the minimum, in which case my employees will very much see that I'm just providing a service, or do I want to build in advice and build in a more flusher scheme that they actually see it as a benefit? All things that need to be considered. So, in summary, if you don't already know your staging date, find out when, think about who you're going to have to enrol, think about the costs and when they're going to start, understand the administrative burdens, and start planning now so you can look at your options and you can look at getting advice to make sure you get the right solution. And I think I'm right in saying that in the packs there's further information.
Yeah, there's all sorts of info in there. I mean, me and Darren right now are dealing with companies that are setting these schemes up, and I'm as worried as you guys probably are on setting them up. They're very time consuming, they do cost money, and it's not going to go away, it's going to happen. You know, myself, I run my own company, I've got to have one for me. There's just no way of getting away from all this. Everybody will have one. So hopefully, what I'd like you all to do is give me a call and we'll have a chat about it, talk about it. But it's all in the packs. If anyone's got any questions, fire them away.
Yeah. We'll be walking around, so
Thank you very much.
Thank you.